folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson, June Jonas with Veterans in Politics. Today we have Jeffrey Lustick, Nevada Assemblyman, District Number 11 candidate. And before we get to Mr. Lustick, Jim, do you have any rants?
Actually, I always try to balance back and forth with whether it's actually a rant or a public service announcement or me just getting something off my chest, period. One of the things that I really want to impress upon people is democracy is sticky, it's tough. It really is. It takes dedication, it takes time. If you are not involved in the government process, we first off, we need to understand that we are the government. So when people go, oh, politicians are all crooks, I'm just going to stay out of the system. Well, you know what? There's an old saying, too, that says the only thing that allows evil to exist is good people to sit around and do nothing. So now we are in the midst of campaign season. And so it's a must for you to be involved. Doesn't matter to me if you're a Democrat, Republican, nonpartisan, independent American Party, whatever party you're affiliated with. It is your job, and remember, veterans, and there's hundreds of thousands of military soldiers around the world that can't even be with their families because they're trying to defend your right to be able to vote and hold your potential elected officials accountable and your current elected officials accountable. So as far as I'm concerned, anytime you don't participate in the voting process or ask your elected officials or potential elected officials questions, 100%, I think you are literally spitting in the face of every single person that has ever served this country. That's my personal opinion. Some people may not agree with it, but because of Steve Sanson and Veterans of Politics, I have a platform to say it, and if you don't like it, well, you don't like it. So,
thank you, Jim. I just wanted to make sure that I read off all. We did 7 weeks of endorsement, intense endorsement interviews. We started this process with the judicial races in February, right after the Valentine's Day ball, and we ended this process for Southern Nevada last night. So the only ones I haven't read off on the show was the assembly candidates. So I just wanted to start with letting everybody knows who we endorsed, and if we didn't endorse, well, I'll let people know that as well. So I'll go from 1 to 42 real quick. So State Assembly District Number 1, no endorsement. State Assembly District Number 2, no endorsement. State Assembly District Number 3, no endorsement. State Assembly District Number 4, we endorsed Lisa Cole, and this is the joint endorsement with Veterans in Politics, Nevada Veterans Association, Armed Forces Chamber, and Nevada Democratic Veterans and Military Families Caucus. Lisa Cole for District Number 4. State Assembly District Number 5, Alan Bigelow. State Assembly District Number 6, Walter Jones III. State Assembly District Number 7, no endorsement. State Assembly District Number 8, no endorsement. State Assembly District Number 9, no endorsement. State Assembly District Number 10, no endorsement. State Assembly District Number 11, Jeffrey Lustick. State Assembly District Number 12, Al Rojas. And when we do a no endorsement, it can mean several things. It can mean we didn't agree on the candidates before us. It could mean that nobody confirmed, or it could mean that the candidates before us we didn't like at all. So it could mean a lot of things. And we all sign a non-disclosure, so please don't ask us what it means because we won't tell you. State Assembly District Number 13, no endorsement. State Assembly District Number 15, no endorsement. State Assembly District Number 16, no endorsement. State Assembly District Number 17, Chantel Roberts. State Assembly District Number 18, no endorsement. State Assembly District Number 20, no endorsement. State Assembly District Number 21, John Patrick. State Assembly District Number 29, Yadasha Williams. State Assembly District Number 34, Brandon Davis. State Assembly District number 35, no endorsement. State Assembly District number 36, no endorsement. State Assembly District number 37, no endorsement. State Assembly District number 41, no endorsement. State Assembly District number 42, no endorsement. And we might go up to Northern Nevada and do those Northern Nevada legislators as well, but my God, I could tell you, I'm just burned out, Jim.
I know.
What an incredible process.
Yeah,
What an
it's,
incredible process you
I'm just
have.
burned out. And let me just preface: we don't do a backroom endorsement deal. We don't go in a room and talk about it, and then the highest paid candidate who gives to the organization gets endorsed. We don't do anything like that. We do it live on Facebook. We tape it for YouTube and all the other social media to show that there's total transparency. And we always say to folks, if you don't like who we endorse, educate yourself, because the candidates that do show up, we get to put their platform out there for you, the voters, to see, and for you, the voters, to make a determination if you want to support that candidate or not. So that's what we do for candidates, whether we endorse them or not. They do have a platform to state their position, and you get to know who they are just by tuning into our YouTube channel or Facebook or any of our social media sites and figure out if you want to endorse them or if you want to vote for them or not. So we do that for all the candidates, whether we like them or we don't like them. We still invite them if we like them, or we don't like them. We still invite them because our bylaws force us to invite them.
Pretty much.
But when we do our show, we only invite people we want, like Jeffrey Lustick. And by the way, Jeffrey Lustick is endorsed by Veterans in Politics. I brought that up, but I just want to reemphasize that he's endorsed by Veterans in Politics. And we're also going to present him with the endorsement at his kickoff party on Saturday. Jeffrey, you want to go ahead and say exactly what that
Absolutely. We're having our kickoff party right in the 11th District. It'll be at Newport Lofts on the 24th floor. It'll be 6:30 on Saturday. We'll have refreshments. I've also made it open for any candidates that want to show up, and we'll announce them, and they'll be encouraged to also present any literature that they want. That's kind of a pet peeve of mine. I've gone to other candidate events, and we need to share, and so I'm going to do that. And I'm looking forward to having you there to present the endorsement in front of my supporters, and
Absolutely.
and we'll have a great view. We'll have a great view of the city, and we'll have a wonderful evening. It's we've had a number of confirmations already, and I think it's just going to be a fun time.
Here's our confirmation right now.
Received RSVP.
And ironically, that Newport Loft. Funny thing about it, because we've done several endorsements at the Foreign Exchange, which is in the same building of the Newport Loft, but downstairs. And then we did another endorsement interview process at the Brown Law Office, which is the other side of, because the loft is in the middle and the Foreign Exchange is right here, and the Brown Law Office is right on this other side on Hoover and. Is it Hoover? Or is it
Hoover and Casino Center.
Hoover and
What
Casino
can I say? It's just that the 11th District likes you guys a lot. That's your home. I mean, the 11th District is.
All right.
We like you guys
stop all
very
those
much.
crazy bike parades going down where we can't pull out.
So if Veterans in Politics or any of the other veteran groups need something passed, we're just going to go to the 11th District
There you go.
to get a BDR in place. That's all.
I know.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Well,
We're
with
ready to
that, Mr. Lustick, please give us a bio and tell us about yourself, because you have a very unique background. And let me say this: Jim and I have been doing this for a very long time, decades now, and I could say this: all the years we've been doing this. And I'm not trying to put out criticism to anybody, because I'm not trying to lump anybody up in one area, because there's some good and bad in all different areas, right? But the assembly candidates, for some reason, a lot of the assembly candidates are entitled, a lot of the assembly candidates are unresponsible, and a lot of the assembly candidates go into politics by going into the assembly race to get their feet wet, don't know what the hell they're doing, and a lot of them just have no knowledge of what's going on. And I could say that from experience, because I've interviewed hundreds of assembly candidates. The best candidates to interview are judicial candidates. Judicial candidates are more educated. they're better responsible, they're more cooperative, and they're eager. And if they don't show up to something, they're going to call you up and say, hey, I can't make it. Assembly candidates, they say they're going to show up, and they don't show. They don't call, no show, and that's very disrespectful, especially the organizations that use their own time and their own dime to make this process happen and charge you nothing, and you still disrespect us. And I think that's a bunch of bullshit. So you assembly candidates out there, you know who you are. I don't have to name names, but you know who you are. But the thing about Mr. Lustick here, although he's running for an assembly race, he's an attorney. So there you go. Mr. Lustick, please.
Well, thank you. And I before I get into that, I just really want to thank all the organizations for your endorsement. This was a huge endorsement for me. It's a special place in my heart to be recognized by literally my brothers and sisters in arms. You all know, and we all know what we go through. And to have the veterans organizations in this state put that symbol on me, it's like wearing a medal. I'm so proud to wear that medal. So, and you can count on me when I'm elected to be your go-to guy, and I really mean that, because I will never stop fighting for veterans. It's just ingrained in my system. I'm originally, I was born in Indiana. I was raised in Illinois. I come from a union family. My dad was union president. We'd go on strike every 2 years. I used to walk the picket line with him. We used to eat the government cheese. We'd go from a middle-class existence in the Midwest to literally fighting to keep our house open because we didn't have anything. And then when the oil crisis happened in the 80s, we moved to Washington State with the oil company. And Washington State, if you don't know, is a very interesting laboratory of politics. I grew up as a young kid there, just fascinated by politics. I got into the debate team in high school. I was a state champion debater. And I got involved in politics, and I started doing county commission runs and state legislature runs and state senate runs. And we would win some and we would lose some. But it was always something that I thought in my future that I'd get a chance to do. And I hoped that I would get a chance to do it the way you should do it, building an organization and getting everything up and running before you dive in. I even served as a page in the Washington State Legislature for 2 terms. And that was incredible. A 16-year-old young man sitting there watching the wheels of government. It's 11:30 at night. They're debating the omnibus budget reenactor. It's like all these bills, and you're a page, and you get the front row seat. If you ever get a chance for your young people to be a page in the U.S. House or in the state legislature, you should do it. So I went into undergraduate, and then I went into law school, and I knew that I had to serve. My dad was a PFC in Vietnam. He was a door gunner in the Army. And I always knew that my turn to serve would come. My uncle was a Green Beret. My other uncle was a tanker, sergeant major in the Army. Another uncle was an Air Force airman who actually drowned in Lake Michigan when he was on active duty. My great-grandfather was born on an Army base in Cuba. So the entire family thought I was going to go in the Army. But I ended up going in the Air Force, And I went into the Air Force right after law school. And
Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you for yours and yours.
Very much.
And really, it was an opportunity.
I want to make that clear.
Oh, well, you're serving now, and that's
right,
important.
That's my whole goal. But I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, and for me, it was just expected. I remember going in front of a placement board in the Air Force, and they're like, "You're not ROTC. We didn't pay for your law school. Do you know how much you can make with your law degree?" And I'm like, "Yeah, about $65,000 as a first lieutenant, please." And that's what I did. I got accepted into the JAG program. They commissioned me as a first lieutenant, and then in 6 months you automatically make captain. And on day 1 of the JAG program, I reported in on a Friday. I was in Omaha, Nebraska, Offutt Air Force Base. This is 1997. I'm in my Class A's. It's like 14 below with the wind howling outside. And Colonel Alan Passy was my first boss. He says, "Lustick, what are you doing this weekend?" And I'm like, "Oh, nothing, sir. Waiting for my household goods. We're hanging out the queue." Pulls out this file, slaps it in front of the desk, and goes, "You're representing the United States of America on Monday in this court-martial. It was like a failure to go, or where they don't go to duty. Be ready." Yeah, well, he didn't get out of his barracks room, didn't show up for formation. But it's the same article as AWOL. So that was my introduction, and ever since then the career was incredible. I think in 4 years of active duty, I got about 10 years of experience. I did courts martials, I did non-judicial punishment, I did legal assistance. I had one time when I was sent to the Pentagon to do wills and trusts for the top brass, and I ended up doing, General Hugh Shelton was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and I did his will. I was a captain and I did his will. And I think this is important to point out because in the military, you're serving a purpose and you're part of a team. And those generals had personal lives too, and they needed their wills done. And I got selected for that duty. So
You get your bar license here in Nevada?
So I am currently in the process of taking the bar exam because they do not have reciprocity.
Yes.
But I am fully licensed in the states of Washington and Arizona. And I do practice aviation law, which is in the federal system. And I do practice military law, which is in the federal system.
Practice in federal court. Here.
Yes, yes. So that's the workaround there. The Nevada bar does not have reciprocity, which means that no matter how old or young you are, you must take their 3-day exam. And so, and if you've noticed, I'm not a young guy anymore, and
It's one of the hardest exams.
It is the
New
third.
York, California, and Nevada.
Yeah, and California actually has what's called a lawyer's exam, where you take 5 questions on day 1 and you're done. Here you take 6 questions, essays, 1 hour each. You do 200 multiple choice questions on day 2, and then 4 hours of practical testing on day 3. So it is, most of the people fail. It's about a 47% failure rate in this state. And some states are looking into that. But I served in the military, and then I went into the National Guard, then I went into the Reserve. And then I became a city prosecutor, and I loved that job. I did that job for 3 years, and it was mostly just gross misdemeanors and traffic and DUIs. And I stayed in the National Guard, and we had an instance when I got recalled to active duty. It was like a scene right out of the.
What year was this?
Would have been 2003. A National Guard.
Afghanistan.
Yeah, a Washington National Guardsman had gotten involved in a drug ring at the post office. And the Judge Advocate General of the Air Force said, we want you to come on to active duty and defend this person. And that was really incredible. And all throughout my career, I've had an open door policy for veterans.
What was your rank?
I made major after 12 years when I got out. And people were like, why'd you get out? And it's like, well, family constraints and career restraints and, things that you have to accomplish and the ways you have to promote. And I had a general that used to say, you can make history or you can make money, but you can't do both. And
it's so funny, Mr. Lustick. I remember I saw you walking your dog on Hoover, and I'm like, hey, come on in and check us out in here, not knowing that you were an assembly candidate.
I'm like, hey, I'll come on in. This looks like politics. I remember driving by on one of the first days, and I think Ron Quince was out front, and I recognized Ron, and I said, oh, this must be a kickoff party or something. This must. I'm like, these are my people. This is politics going on in my building, and I remember thinking, this is really cool. But yeah, just the military has always been kind of the backbone of the way I operate. Even in private practice, I became civilian counsel in a lot of military cases, Navy cases, Army cases, Air Force cases, which is a totally different trip. It's a different trip.
I wanted to, on behalf of the Joint Veterans organizations that did the endorsement interviews, I wanted to apologize to you for that interview on when you came for the endorsement.
I have to stop you because there's no need. There's simply no need to apologize.
I want to apologize because that was, in my opinion, a cluster.
Yeah,
fuck.
well,
in the military we call it clusterfuck.
Well, we call it Charlie Foxtrot.
Yeah,
we're officers. We're officers, so we call it a Charlie Foxtrot.
Because number one, the person that sat there with you never confirmed to begin with, and our bylaws said they don't confirm, they can't be a part of the process. But somebody called her up, and she came, and I thought it was in your race, 11, right? But she was in District 10. Mm-hmm. She shouldn't have been sitting up there talking with you because she was in that district. She's not your opponent. She shouldn't be there, period. And then she was there with a child, which we don't even allow nobody to go up there with anybody. Mm-hmm. But and that was a total distraction. I watched the interview, and it took away from your platform what you had to get out, and I just. I just feel terrible about it. I really do.
I would urge you not to feel that way. I mean, I was actually not bothered at all because I know, but you're looking at it from the standpoint of being a host. I believe in democracy. I believe in free speech. I do not like cancel culture, and I know that I've been canceled before. I was in a place where being a Trump supporter meant that you couldn't have opportunities to do social events. You couldn't have opportunities to be in higher office. Yeah. I was a judge up in Washington State, and I knew that I could never get appointed by the council because of my republicanism. And so I saw what was happening, and I didn't really understand why she was there either because I knew who the candidates were in my race, and I knew this person. I'd never heard of this person before. I later found out that she's actually a candidate, and she's gotten endorsements, and that's cool. So for me, I just want you to know, I will accept your apology, but I'll do it with a caveat that, like you said in the opening, democracy is gritty. Yeah. It's rough. You got to have a nose for this stuff. You got to have a stomach for this stuff. And I felt really bad for the one panelist because she was calling that panelist racist, and I didn't think that was fair, and I didn't think that was appropriate because that panelist had some injuries, some service-related injuries, and he was struggling to get those words out. And I think when you run, she's kind of the Bernie Sanders side of the Democratic Party, and I'm definitely very conservative when I look at these things. And I think it was important for my voters and for her voters to see the contrast of how the same situation is dealt with. We're in the same situation. We're talking to honored veterans, disabled veterans, people who to this day have issues with the way they live their lives because of how they served. And you can't sit on this side of the table and talk to that person and treat them like a gentleman. I don't think it distracted from anything I had to say. I wish I had more time because that question that Mikey asked me.
Sorry about that.
No, that's good.
I'm the timekeeper.
That's good.
So I apologize.
You were tyrannical, and that's perfect, and that's the way you got to be. That's the way you got to be. But I wished I had more time, and maybe I can talk about it here on the podcast. That question that Mikey asked, because that's a huge valid question, and he told me later. He says, "Man, you came up with the same answer I came up with," and I thought, "Oh, that's pretty cool," because I've been thinking the issue was, what are you going to do to hold the executive accountable for all the shortcomings in the Nevada Department of Veterans Affairs, which runs 2 nursing homes, one in Sparks, one in Boulder City, and they're both embattled. They're both getting complaints through the health department. They're both under one's under investigation. I don't know if the other is, and we've replaced our director. And what I told him in that answer was I want it to go under the military department. I want the military to run that department. And that's perfectly valid and legal because they're the National Guard, and we can do that. So just to circle back and just to let you know on a personal note, I'm not going to say it was better, but I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was bad because people need to see in democracy the type of people that have divergent opinions, and we don't cancel them. We can listen to their opinion, and we can disagree with it, and we can go on with our lives. And we don't have to mash our teeth. We don't have to bash in car windows. We don't have to set things on fire. And that we saw very much in the last 3 years. And I'm worried that if we don't have a change in our national leadership, we're going to probably see that more and more because it's going to be emboldened and it's going to be empowered.
In fact, normalized.
Well, but actually, if we change our national leadership, we probably will see a lot of that attempt to cancel people. So no, I don't worry about that one. I look back at it as a positive experience. I really
Did you watch the video?
I did. I watched the video. It's funny because if Saturday Night Live saw that video, they would make a skit out of it. They would make a skit out of it. So at that one point, the child's drawing on the mom's chest with a marker.
Yes,
I thought that was a little interesting.
Yes,
But that could have been a skit on Saturday Night Live. So
let me ask you this question, and this is just my main question.
I didn't finish with my bio either, but that's okay.
We already screwed up his endorsement interview.
I just got one question that you finished with your bio. And for once, I'm going to keep it at one question.
Are you really?
Yeah, okay. Fair enough, probably not. Anyway, long story short, so obviously as a Republican, when you get to Carson City, you're going to be in the minority.
Yeah.
And one of the things that has frustrated me with Republican legislators, every time I ask them a question, they go, well, we're in the minority, so there's really not much we can do. Okay, when you go to Carson City, unfortunately, you're going to probably be in the minority. Hopefully not, but probably so. So how are you going to hold your Republican colleagues accountable and push back on the Democrats? Because right now, I really believe we're at a tipping point where Carson City is going to be Sacramento here pretty quick. And we can't afford that. I mean, the state of California, I don't know how they get by with, federally, you're not allowed to go in the red as a state, but they're allowed to. So how can we stop that from happening?
So I think you've actually have asked two questions here, but that's okay. You know, first of all, I believe that our system works. The two-party system works. And every time we've experimented with a parliamentary style system or whenever we've tried to introduce third parties, it just doesn't work. We always go back to the two-party system. One of the big criticisms I have in Carson City with the Democrats is they close ranks. And what I mean by this is that they do not let Republicans get involved. They do not let Republicans make gestures or build bridges or you know, put together coalitions, okay? I'm certainly going to try to do that. But one of the things that you have is you have a limited amount of the bill draft requests. I think I'm going to have 6, okay? But anything that's ever been a bill, I can pull that up and I can reintroduce that and I can sponsor that. And there are some really great ideas. There are some really great bills. So part of what I should do is to be the ideas person and bring up those ideas and present those ideas to the best of my ability. Hold hearings, bring people to Carson City, put testimony on record. And all I can do is communicate with my constituents about the status of things. The worst thing you can do as a legislator is not communicate with the people that sent you there, because they'll understand that you were in the minority. They'll understand that you tried to get things done, okay? And once you start putting that out there, that you did the best you could, that you pull up bills that had been brought up before, that you bring new bills to the fore and they don't go anywhere, then you have a leg to stand on. Because you don't work for those people that are not working for you, the Democrats, the Speaker of the House, the Democratic floor leader. You're working for the people back home. And you want to have them understand that you've done everything you can. And I'm fully aware that I'm going into what could be an acrimonious situation. And I know from other Republicans that have been there, what do we have, 14 Republicans versus 28. And that's a tough, and I believe that there's going to be, as I look at the districts, I think there's going to be 4 or 5 that are going to flip, including mine, okay? So that doesn't even get us into the minority, that doesn't even get us in the majority. It just breaks the supermajority.
Right, the supermajority.
Yeah, which we talked about a lot.
Extremely important.
Yeah. But your other question, and I think I've answered both your questions, but really you've got to be the kind of person that is never going to stop being willing to work with the other side, as tough as it can be. You know, I'm a pro-union Republican, and this means that I can also tap into the people I support, and I can do some lobbying on my own. I can say to the union, hey, you know, I got this idea, and I really think this is going to benefit your members, but I can't get the Speaker of the House to advance this out of committee. What can you do to make my bill move? And this is called the third house. Have you ever heard that? The third house is the collection of the lobbyists and the people that are paid and unpaid. And
non-elected bureaucrats, basically.
Well, not even bureaucrats. It can be volunteers. It can be people that just go there to get involved. And what I will do
people that control your if you're going to get elected or not.
Maybe, but that's fair game. You know, that's part of it.
That's
you know,
part of
because
it,
there's an old saying. You know, you like sausage until you see how it's made. And that's what's going on. And that's what's going on. And the other thing I want to mention, and since I am here, I really don't think our capital should be in Carson City. 4 out of 5 people that live in Nevada live in Clark County. And things, there's just a transformation process. It's a transformation process. And there's not enough media coverage. You can't just hop in your car and drive up there. There's not enough room for the public to see things. The facilities are not adequate. It's just, I have a piece of property that's picked out in the 11th district, and I want the state capitol in my district. And that's not going to be something I'll do on the first shot. It might,
Right,
you know, and there's a lot of resistance to this. But when you really think about it, where should the capital be? And it should be where everybody can access it.
Trump moved the
The Israeli capital.
The Israeli
Yeah.
capital.
But
yeah.
other state
The embassy
capitals-
did.
But it does make
Yeah,
sense.
embassy.
It does make sense with what you're talking about, because there are way more legislators here
Yes.
in Southern Nevada than they are in Northern
Right.
Nevada. So if you think about it as a financial prospect, you're going to be moving 14 or 10 from here to Southern Nevada instead of moving 28.
But we don't get an office, and we don't get a staff, and the governor has an office here. The lieutenant governor has an office here. The Secretary of State, who lives in my building, by the way, I don't know if you knew that or not.
I knew that.
Yeah, and he has an office here. The Supreme Court sits here. Okay, you know, so really,
time.
it's time to say, okay, Carson City was great. It's a nice historic town. It's next to Reno. But what is the true benefit versus the detriment? And socially, I mean, hey, we could have a great capital. We could have neon lights on our capital. We could have slot machines in our capital. This could be another tourist attraction, okay? Why not? It's Vegas, right?
The state will
It's
save
Nevada,
money.
right?
The state will save money if it was here, because
Yeah.
it was less people to fly, less people to house. I mean, let's say,
I don't think they would save money, but that's not the point. I mean, we can afford to put up a new building. We can afford to move the apparatuses of government here, and we should do that, because it should be about letting people that are down in Henderson, people that are down in this section of the state, in Pahrump, you know, that they get access to their government, and it's a majority rule. So
Yeah, well, and there's actually a state that has a pretty clear track record on this. If you look at Colorado, for years their capital was in Boulder, but their state legislature said the same thing. Like, wait a minute, our main apparatus is in Denver, so they moved their capital to Denver.
a lot of states have had other capitals.
Yep.
A lot of states have moved their
Yeah.
capitals, and that's true. So, you know, that's a long-term thing. Obviously, as a freshman legislator, I'm not going to be able to pull that one off. But, you know, and everyone's like, oh yeah, great idea, it'll never happen. But you know, you got to be able to think out of the box, and you got to think about what's best.
Well, and you gotta
we are in a
try,
state,
too.
guys. We are in a state with the lowest. Whoop, there goes. I got Jackie down here, and
We're all talking with our hands.
yeah. So we're in a state that has the lowest voter participation of any.
you got to bring it up some more.
Yeah, he's kind of. I got my service dog under the table here, and he is wrapped in this. So hang on a second. You're going to hear some things on the mic. Sorry about that. Jackie is getting a little reckless. We can maybe talk about Jackie too. He's quite an interesting fellow. Anyways, we're in a state that has the lowest voter participation than any state. I was shocked when I saw that the incumbent in my race 2 years ago won with 6,100 votes. And the challenger, who virtually did nothing, didn't have a campaign, didn't buy a sign, didn't come here for an endorsement, I believe, didn't do anything, got 2,700 votes. You know, where I come from in other states, and I've done campaigning in all the states I've lived in Nebraska, in Florida, all the states I was stationed in. There's some jurisdictions where you have to have 80,000 votes just to place second, and the districts are divided by mountain ranges and bodies of water. And here, my district, I can literally see it from my apartment. I can see the entire district from my apartment. And so when
You got a good view?
yeah, absolutely, I'll show you. When I saw that it only took that many votes, I was appalled. In my primary, only 700 people vote. I mean, they get more in a student body election at a community college, you know. And we're talking about state assembly here. You know, we're talking about lawmakers for a state that has nearly 4 million people, that has, you know, billions and billions of dollars of revenue going through this state, that has the largest gaming industry in the country, arguably the largest, most successful tourism industry in the country, tons of natural resources. You know, we got mining interests, we got mineral interests, we've got potential oil interests, we've got manufacturing coming into the state, and we have a state legislature that meets once every 2 years, and each person gets 6 BDRs. For the people watching on YouTube, you get to introduce 6 bills. That's it. 6 bills. That should not be limited. Now, I can pull any other bill and I can sponsor other people's bills.
yeah.
So there's a lot of work to be done. But I'm going to be a reformer because I have to be. Because I know, and the people I talk to in my district, they're ready for this, you guys. They're ready for this. I go to doors, I knock on doors, and they're like, wow, you're a politician? What are you doing in my neighborhood? And I'm like, why would I not be in your neighborhood? I want to be your leader. Wow, come on in. Would you like a water? We never get anybody here. And I love that, you guys, because I am literally planting seeds that maybe not next week or next month, because a lot of people, like you said, they don't vote and they're not in the habit of voting. And if you don't get in the habit of voting, when you just get the right to vote, if you don't become a voter early in life, it's very rare that you'll become a voter later in life unless something bad happens to you.
You said that you didn't complete your bio. I like to hear.
Yeah, I didn't. So I had spent time being in the Air Force, and then I became a special assistant U.S. attorney in Omaha, Nebraska. So for a few years, I prosecuted federal cases in
You're
the
an
district.
educated young man.
Well, I skipped over that. I have a law degree from Gonzaga University. A lot of people have heard about Gonzaga because of their basketball
Because of
success.
basketball, yeah.
Thankful for that. I graduated in '97 with honors. Went right into the Air Force.
From law school.
Yes, I didn't owe them any money. I didn't have a scholarship. I just wanted to serve, and I did. I had a great time serving. So I was a special assistant U.S. attorney for a few years. Then I got into private practice. I founded actually 2 different law firms. Regional law firms did extremely high-level cases, homicide, some sex cases, lots of drug cases. I did a huge biker case where I represented the president of an international biker group, the Banditos. I was George Weggers' lawyer. He was facing
the president of the Las Vegas chapter. He's one of my brothers.
Yeah.
Former president of the Las Vegas chapter, Banditos.
And George was an interesting fellow. He had been indicted, and I didn't agree with it. I felt he was being targeted by the Bush administration. They used the Patriot Act to wiretap him. He had a 54-count criminal indictment to include witness tampering, attempted murder, everything like that. We listened to all the tapes. We got all the evidence down. He walked out of that jail. Walked out.
Very cool.
And so that was a big case for me. Then I became a federal public defender for a while. And then I had this opportunity to become a part-time judge. And then when
How was
COVID, that was great. Everybody wants to be a judge. All lawyers want to be a judge. Especially me. I was a trial lawyer. I did so many trials and courts-martials and
Oh, wow.
constantly in court every day. I just love being in court. I love presenting in front of juries.
So it's fair to say that if and when you become an elected assemblyman, you'd want to sit on the judiciary.
Absolutely, and government relations. Yeah, and then at some point I got picked up to be on court TV. So I did 4 years of going back and forth to New York City and being a talking head on TV, which was very interesting. And then I got a gig to be an afternoon drive radio talk show host. I started off being a legal expert, and I would do segments, and then eventually they had me be the fill-in guy, and then eventually I did some of the shows. So
That's why you got endorsed.
maybe the gift of gab, the gift of gab. But so I did that, and then
No,
and
because
then-
you're well-rounded.
and the part-time judge gig was really great because COVID hit, and my judges were elderly, and they did not want to come to work, and so I found myself working about 50 hours a week, doing everything, trials. A lot of it was on Skype and Zoom, and I could not understand how I was expected to judge someone's credibility of wearing a mask in a courtroom. That was really tough. And then I got to take testimony in a court hearing from someone that's in the middle of a parking lot sitting in their car on Skype.
So you're busting your ass in a courtroom because these judges didn't want to go in court.
That's correct.
And they were getting paid
They're elected.
while
That's
they were
right.
at home
That's right.
chilling and having a waffle for
That's right.
breakfast at 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
In their fluffy slippers.
Yeah, but I loved it, and it was a great experience, and that's something that I hope to do again sometime. But now I've worked in I've worked in 2 of the 3 branches of government. I've worked in the executive branch as a prosecutor. I've worked in the judiciary branch as a judge. Now it's time to be in the legislative branch because I have so many ideas and so much energy to take care of this.
Well, Mr. Lustick, I'm glad that the joint veterans endorsed you, because I could see you make a great assemblyman, and and I don't think you should stop there. You know what I mean? But I think you do great. You're well rounded. You're educated. You're
Thank
humble.
you.
You're veteran, lawyer, judge. I mean, radio host.
Yeah, everything.
He's got to have that. I mean, it sounds like that that I don't see why the voters of a assembly district, was it 11?
Well, I'll tell you
11
why. If we
wouldn't
can, do we
vote
have
for you.
time to talk about that, or we have to wrap up?
No, we gotta go. We got things to do. Now go ahead. Make it quick.
Everyone told me not to do this.
Why?
I think it's because we have a lot of stovepipe thinking when it comes to elections.
What do you mean by stovepipe?
Well, Nevada's interesting because about half the states got rid of their closed primaries and got rid of their designated registrations. But in Nevada, when you get your driver's license or when you change your address, you have to declare what party you're affiliated with. And this is important because when it comes time for the primary election, of course, you can only vote in the party that you're designated in. But it also causes a big database of registered and voters that are active and inactive. And I think that when people are evaluating races in this state, they look very heavily at those numbers, and they make their decisions just based on those numbers. But there's no way to scale in an energetic, vibrant candidate. There's no way to inject in what the ideas will mean, and also to factor in maybe some electors that feel that they are upset about things and aren't going to follow the trend and vote their party. But when you talk to people that are at strategy places, you talk to people that run campaigns, all they know is the numbers. And we have a young group in the state. Did you ever meet the campaign manager for David Flippo?
Yeah.
He's under 30.
Noah.
Did you ever meet the campaign manager for Jeff Gunter? He's under 30.
Yes.
And so these people that are running campaigns, it was just like me. I did that too. And right now, they know the numbers. They know the numbers real well. But the numbers don't tell the story. And so I have about a 3.5 to 1 split between, there's 3.5 Democrats for every 1 Republican. But I have 4.1 independent non-party preference to every Republican. So if the incumbent last year got 6,100 votes, or last election year, all I need to do is take 3,000 votes from her, and I win. So if you look at the numbers, you tap into the independents. You give the independents something to hitch their wagon to. You give them a leader. You give them ideas. You give them a reason to vote. And then you take the people that aren't voting in the party. You give them a reason to vote. And then possibly this year with the national election, there could be some voter fatigue. Some Democrats may not want to vote. They may not come out and vote. Some Republicans who don't normally vote might come out and vote because they're excited about Mr. Trump. So I think this is an excellent year. And I was told today by someone in the know, that someone that works for a fire department union, that my district has never been represented by a Republican. And that if I flip this district, it's going to be historic. And I love making history.
Well, there was a race, I forget what district it was. It was an incumbent Democrat and a no-name Republican in a heavily Democratic district. His name is John Moore.
Yeah, I've heard this. I heard this story.
He beat Jeff Frierson. Is it Jeff Frierson?
I heard the story today.
And he beat him.
Yep.
And
District 8.
Yeah, he beat him.
You know why that happened?
He beat him, and now Frierson, Jason Frierson, that's his name, Jason Frierson.
Jason, yeah.
And he beat him, and then they had a round 2, and then Jason beat him in the round 2. But Jason thought that he had this thing wrapped up, and I don't think he was campaigning at all. And John Moore went in there and won the thing and took it away from him, and he was the incumbent, Jason Frierson. Yeah. And now in round 2, Frierson took it from Moore, and now Frierson is now a federal judge, believe it or not. So. Things happen.
It's not easy. It's a tough prospect because you get elected and then you immediately go into session. You get elected in November, you get sworn in December, and in January you're in session. There's not really enough time to meet the people you're going to work with.
Session starts in February.
Well, January you're over there, you're getting ready, you're getting everything ready, you're starting to get committee assignments, everything's going on.
Everybody knows everybody, hugs all around.
So I mean, really functionally, from the moment in which you're elected, you're getting those training wheels.
This is what amazes me, Mr. Lustick, is that, when you talk to consultants and chair people for different parties, they'll tell you, run for an assembly race to get your feet wet in politics. But these are the very people that are making laws for us. They're making laws, and some of them don't even know what the hell that they're doing. And they're going into assembly races to get their feet wet while they're making all these stupid laws like driver's license for illegal immigrants. I mean, give me a freaking break here, you know? These are people that are making laws for us and don't even know their head from their ass.
And it's further,
some of them, not all of them, because you're well-rounded.
Thank you for that. But it's further compounded by the fact that we have such a low voter turnout. And you know, maybe this is fodder for the education system. Maybe this is something that needs to be emphasized at colleges. You know, it's just something about the battle-born state that people come here and they don't vote. And it's not because of a lack of registrations. I mean, they're constantly registering you when you get your license. They're registering people that don't even realize they're getting registered. So it's just something about Nevada. Maybe it's the rugged individualism. Maybe it's the great outdoors that distracts people from voting. But I'm with you on that. And that's why I ran, because the incumbent in my district is not running. B. Duran was the incumbent. She was put into this position when the incumbent originally got promoted to Senate, and she was appointed by the powers that be to be the assembly person. She was in there for 2 or 3 terms, and one of the last things she did is she passed $25 million over to the culinary union where she works.
Absolutely.
And from 10,000 feet, you can see that as a conflict of interest, but she apparently couldn't. Apparently she couldn't. And so she decided to step down in October, and that's when they anointed the Democratic frontrunner to be, they endorsed her in October, you know. And so they're
without
looking
interviewing anybody else.
And they did that also in the chamber race.
You know who does that? The unions. The unions.
Yes,
The unions.
yes.
The unions will invite people to come down, and then let's say they invited
I didn't get
you.
invited for fire. I didn't get invited for chamber. And
Some
I
of
knew
them
it. Yep.
invite people to come down, and then when you don't get the endorsement, say, hey, what did I do? Why I didn't get the endorsement? Oh, you're not the incumbent. Then why the hell didn't you just say, only incumbents come on down and leave the challengers alone, because you're wasting my time. And that's what the unions do. They waste the challengers' time, and they only endorse incumbents, which I think is a bunch of bullshit. Just like us. People say to me, hey, you know, I'm a veteran. How come you didn't endorse me? I'm saying because,
What have you done for veterans?
you know,
that's a
we
good
don't
question.
rubber stamp anybody.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what they want. They want to be rubber stamped. They don't want to do anything for an endorsement. They just want you just to give it to them. And if you just give it to them, then what is an endorsement really worth?
Well, and that's the thing. You announce the non-endorsed. I mean, you state what races that you aren't endorsing in, and I think that gives your agencies a lot of credibility. And you do this for free. You don't get paid. You're here.
I want to get paid.
I know, but you've done this. You do this every time. This is something that you do over and over again, and you take a stance. And you guys are leaders.
Thank you.
And that's what I love about this endorsement. That's why you were the first to endorse me, and I'm so proud of that. I've also been endorsed by the Las Vegas Metro Police and all of the agencies in the state. I've been endorsed by the Nevada State Education Association, which is not common for Republicans to get that.
We don't take endorsements lightly.
But the truth is that if you go, you know, if you drive out to Flower Street, if you go down Pecos, if you go to these areas in my district, they don't care who endorsed you. They don't know. You know, the people there are concerned about their jobs and their paychecks. And one of my platforms is that I want to abolish the DMV. And when I tell people I want to abolish the DMV, they're always like, yes! Because I think that we pay too much for car tabs. Nevada families pay about 2 or 3 car payments a year just to keep their cars on the road. But they're still driving their cars with no license plates and no insurance. And then we have people that drive Ferraris and Lamborghinis, and they have Montana plates. So we aren't registering people at the top of their income bracket,
the middle
and
the
we're not doing the people at the low. And so I want to have all the smog people, the people that do smog testing. That's where you get your license renewal, and you pay a flat fee, not one based on value. And then you can get your title done there. You can get your VIN inspection done there. And so I want to uplift people. I want to have people not have to spend months getting into the DMV. So an endorsement is great, and I really love it because it is a recognition that I'm on the right track. But but the joy and the happiness that you get from talking to a voter in your district that says, why, you're here. This is great. You're in my house. And I'm just a candidate. So my message to all the candidates, whether you're an incumbent or not, is get out there. Talk to the people that you represent. Because the stovepipe, when you talk to these analysts, these consultants, they say, we'll do a mailer. We'll do a text message. That's not the same. But that's the way they're lured into winning races in Nevada. Is it wrong? I don't know. But what I'm doing has a certain sense of groundswell. It has a certain sense of, this is new, this is exciting. I had someone high up in the fire department union tell me that he can't believe my campaign. That my campaign for Assembly District 11 is the fastest, most popular growing campaign he's seen in the entire state. And what's making the difference is we're hitting 50 houses a day.
Good.
We are going to 50 houses a day. Now, Anthony Manessa also ran. He put his name in to be on the ballot, and he's withdrawn his candidacy. The state will not let him take his name off the ballot, but he's supporting. We go out and we doorbell every day. We're gaining. It's like the scene from Forrest Gump. We started just running down the road, and now we have like 10 people running with us, and soon we're going to have 30 people running with us.
So what is he running as?
So
As a libertarian or?
no, Anthony Manessa was a Republican. He is a Republican. He's very well known in the Republican Party. He originally filed for District 10, and then he found out he had to be in 11. So at the same time I was filing for 11, he got moved over to 11, and we kind of crossed paths. But he has a family emergency, and we've met, and he's supporting me. He's my tactical director now. So
Tell him to make a video announcement.
we're going to do that. Yeah,
Okay.
we're going to do that. We're going to do that probably next week. But we're having such fun working together, and we're meeting so many people. And that's the big thing, that when you run for office is you just meet so many different people. And I met a person the other day who was on death row for 15 years, and he's a Republican now. He just got released last year. And I've been a judge, I've been a lawyer, I've been a prosecutor, I've been a defense counsel, but you don't see someone that comes off of death row. You just don't see that.
Right.
And to talk to this person, it was exhilarating because it reminded me that you always have to serve. You're always serving the people. You're always serving the constituents. And that thing that you said in the opening about military members feeling like they're getting slapped in the face, it's so true. And you can back me up on this. When you wear that uniform every day, you're filled with such a sense of pride in the country. And it does come down to the flag, and it does come down to voting. And it goes in, because the divine line between civilian leadership and military leadership is always known and present in your mind, because it's the civilians that tell the military what to do.
Right.
And you can be at home one day mowing your lawn, and the next day you're standing in a mobility line, and the day after that you're on an airplane somewhere. Mm-hmm. So we in the military know better than a lot of people that voting is important, and having the will and the determination to pick your leaders and to pick high quality leaders. It can be frustrating to see some of the leaders that we get. And so I want to be a high quality legislator. Everyone's saying, oh, you should go off and be governor, or you should be attorney general. No. I want to go to Carson City. I want to be in the legislative branch. I want to make a difference. I want to see what it's like. I have a good idea what it's going to be like. I know it's going to be hard work, but I'm excited. I can't wait to get up there. I can't wait to bring that experience back to the people of the 11th District, and to go into their houses again, like I've been in their houses now, and say, hey, I was just up there, and this is what I want to tell you. And we need help. Why don't you help us? Why don't you come and work on my campaign, or get involved in another campaign? Democracy, the reason that dictators and despots hate democracy is because it's infectious. Once you get involved in democracy, once you start talking about electing people and empowering people, and that's what I like about our citizen legislature. That's what I like about the state assembly. I know that you were frustrated when you talked about that, but where else in this state can you go and be involved? Do you know what it takes to be in the legislature? You can get elected to legislature on $20,000. So you get 4 or 5 donors, you'll have enough to do your signs, you'll have enough to get elected.
I ran for AD 13 twice.
But do you know what it takes to get elected to the Henderson City Council? A couple $100,000. You know what it takes to get elected to the Las Vegas City Council? Almost $800,000. Do you know what it takes to get elected the mayor of Las Vegas?
Over $1 million.
Over $1 million. And you know what it takes to get into Congress? $15 million to be a congressman. And if you want to be a senator, you don't even show up unless you've got $50 million.
Unless you're pounding the pavement every
Like our
single
friend
day,
does. Like our friend does.
Stephanie Villa.
Our friend does.
Well, Mr. Lustick, I hope that's made up for the endorsement interview.
You didn't have to do anything. I felt it was quintessentially democracy in action, and I respect that woman. She got endorsements, and the people in her district really like her.
I'm not taking anything
Yep,
away. I'm blaming the group for putting her there.
I was confused. I didn't know what role she was.
It was not her fault
Yeah,
at all.
yeah.
I mean, but
Yeah.
but it is what it is, and
Yeah.
and I just felt so bad because it wasn't. It
Please
wasn't
don't feel
hers,
bad
so.
anymore, because I was the guy in the seat, and I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. I didn't know who she was, and my people didn't know who she was. I know that you bring in guest moderators, and I thought, well, maybe she's a moderator or something. And one day I hope to be a moderator. I hope to earn that position, to be a moderator. I saw that you
Hey,
had.
I would love for you to be a moderator.
I saw you had Supreme Court justices doing that. You had senators doing that. What a thing! I mean, you guys are just top flight. You get some real good involvement there. But you know,
It's called longevity.
well, no, it's called you earned it. You earned your stripes. You guys are sergeant majors and chief petty officers. I mean, you guys, we respect you.
I wanted to be more like a general, like 4-star. Well, Mr. Lustick,
You're kind of gritty, so it's kind of a
we're gonna,
senior NCO thing.
We're gonna have to call it a night. It is night time,
Yes.
I would like you to do your final closing. Anything you want to talk about, and please give your web address and your cell and whatever information you want to give. And once again, invite people to come to your kickoff party fundraiser.
Absolutely.
Is it fundraiser kickoff party?
It is. It's a meet the candidates. It's a meet and greet.
Okay.
It's a fundraiser for sure, because we're always looking to have support.
Right.
It's going to be on Saturday night at 200 Hoover in the Newport Lofts building on the 24th floor. If you could please RSVP through my website or my Facebook. My Facebook, my Instagram, my X account, also known as Twitter, is Jeff, the number 4 Nevada. Jeff 4 Nevada. Instagram, Facebook. Please follow us on Facebook. I post so many things on Facebook. All my bills are there. The bills I'm going to present, all the ideas are there. My bio is there. So please check out my Facebook, and from there you can go to Instagram and X. My name is Jeff Lustick. I am proudly a Republican. I am running in a deep blue district. I am not crazy. I really believe I can win. And from the feedback that I've gotten from this week, I am emboldened, I am motivated, and I am so happy to be running for this district, because this district needs help. We have some of the richest people in town, the people that own casinos. We have people that own businesses. And then we have some of the poorest people in town. It's a magnet, we have the shelters, we have Catholic Community Services and the shelters and things, and it just draws people in, and then they don't leave, and they're in the district. But we also have wage earning families that are worried about the future, that if a change isn't made, are they going to have a job? Can they drive their car? Can they pay their bills? And the person who becomes the assembly member in the 11th district has to be able to deal with that. I offer strong leadership, strong organization. I've done just about everything you can do in government. I've never been a lawmaker, but I am ready and seasoned on day one. I know how to speak on the floor. I know how to speak in committee. I know how to speak in caucus. I will hit the decks running, and I plan to have a statewide impact. I'm concerned about the DMV. I want to abolish it. I want to bring a statewide lottery here because I think it would help school children. We have to raise teachers' pay because we're losing good teachers, and that's the real problem in our system. We can't pay the superintendent almost $700,000 and pay the teachers $54,000 when we all know it takes about $111,000 to live comfortably with benefits in this town. I want to get rid of daylight savings time. It's time to get rid of that. There's a lot of things we can do to streamline our government and make it better for people in my district and the people in our state. I want to stop land grabs. I want to stop the privatization of public resources. I'm against the stadium deal because it takes money out of the mouths of school children and gives money to a billionaire. I want to undo that deal. $380 million package to build a private stadium in a place in Nevada, in Las Vegas, that isn't the best place for the stadium. So, am I a radical? No. I'm a common sense ideas guy. I'm a dad in tennis shoes. I'm a single parent. I'm interested in service dogs. I'm concerned about children with learning disabilities. I want to make sure no one gets falling through the cracks in our school system. I want to maintain our school district. I don't think we should break it up. I want to increase funding. And I want to have the casinos pay their fair share in taxes. Every month we hear that the casinos have made $2 billion or $1.6 billion. You know, the casinos do want to pay their taxes. The casinos will pay the taxes that we put up there. They want to pay their fair share. So we have to change our priorities in Nevada, and that's what I want to do. I want to lead the way, and I know what we're getting into in Carson City.
Well, Mr. Lustick, it sounds like you have a heavy, heavy list, and I'm glad you do because some people don't have a list at all.
If you don't have ideas,
How many times have I heard that?
how can you run? My
What's a
opponent,
BDR? What does that mean?
a bill draft request, but my leading opponent is a social justice environmentalist.
Yeah.
That's my leading opponent. Okay, so you can determine what that means, because I know what that means. And so I have ideas, and if you can't have ideas, you shouldn't be in the people's house. You shouldn't be in the people's assembly. You got to have ideas.
Well, thank you, Mr. Lustick. Jim, thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Folks, that's Jeffrey Lustick, Nevada State Assembly District Number 11, endorsed by the Joint Veterans Organizations that conducted interviews on his race, I believe it was last week. And I just want people to go to the voting booth and really, really know who you're voting for, especially these lawmakers out there, Assembly and state senators, and U.S. Senate and Congress as well if you want to go on the federal ticket. But you really got to know who you're voting for when you're putting these people in office, because we got some really stupid people in office, okay? And we got some really stupid candidates running to become elected officials. And you guys got to just do your homework. And shows like this and other podcasts that are out there, you got to do your homework and really, really pay attention to these candidates, because you can't vote for them and then complain later that they're doing a dumb job. I mean, preventive maintenance, folks. Preventive maintenance. If you know your car is on E and you see the light on, you don't want to pass by a gas station because that's just stupid. All right, so
Common sense ain't so common though.
That's true. This is Steve Sanson, Jim Jones for Veterans in Politics. Until next time.